Hello there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Ben Chapman. If you're new around here, make sure to subscribe. If you like what you see, please hit that like button and leave a comment down below. Today's question of the day is, which show was better last night, AEW or NXT? This is being recorded before both shows, so I'm not going to know until you tell me. So let me know. Which one do you think was better? And now we start off with our Raw, week 2 of August. Penultimate Raw before SummerSlam. And we kick things off with Randy Orton and Ric Flair. They come out and they announce that Drew McIntyre is not here tonight. He isn't, and he's just not, no one's seen him. He was taken to a local medical facility last week, and nobody has really seen him since. Pretty much just showing the heels of a benefit, and then Christian Cage comes out and starts cutting a promo on the top of the ramp on Randy, taunting him almost, to try and make him lose his temper, before, just as Randy snaps, Christian leaves. He ends his promo just before Randy snaps, leaving Ric Flair to try and calm Randy down in the ring. It's an 85 rated segment. Good work from all guys. The announce team was a bit of an issue, and all three guys have great public support. Then, get the Hurt Business come down to ringside. MVP, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin gets a 93, which is a great rating for these three. They come down to the ringside and they just sit there because they're going to be watching United States Contender Tournament. 2 fatal 4-ways today. The winners of each match will be facing off in a singles match next week to face MVP at SummerSlam. And the first of those 4-ways sees Cedric Alexander, Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal go at it, and it is Seth Rollins who picks up the win in an 81 rated match when he pins Cedric Alexander with the curb stomp. If we look at their ratings individually, Rollins was by far and away the best person in the match, with a whole 7 points differentiating him and Ziggler, and 15 between him and Jinder Mahal, who was the weakest in the match, but is still quite comfortably in that mid-card range. I'm only using Seth in the mid-card at the moment because there's nothing for him to do in the main event scene, because we don't have a very strong main event scene. If we look, there's great charisma and great selling for lots of people. It's an 81 overall, and the second fatal 4-way doesn't do as well. It goes for a little bit longer than the first one, but it sees Buddy Murphy take on Brendan Vink, Mustafa Ali and Ricochet, and it's Ricochet who picks up the win, pinning Mustafa Ali with a shooting star press. It was a little bit too long, over 15 minutes, which I still hate having to confide to that in WWE, because some of the greatest matches are longer, and it does feel very limiting. But either way, gets a 67 rating, and after the match it confirms that it will be Ricochet versus Seth Rollins next week, as in a number 1 contenders match for the United States Championship. Pretty good matchup. I don't know how many times that match has actually been done, but it should be an interesting to look at. We then get Banks and Bayley coming out to the ring. Again, doing the whole bragging that there is nobody to face them at all in this women's division. everybody is beneath them. So therefore they'll be taking the night off at SummerSlam. But they're interrupted by Stephanie McMahon, who comes out and says that they're not going to get the night off at SummerSlam at all. In fact, they're going to have to defend all of their titles at SummerSlam. And in fact, Sasha Banks, there'll be a battle royale today, a 10-woman battle royale, to determine your number one contender, the person who will be facing you for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. It's 75. Bayley struggled off script, but overall pretty decently. In the kind of a cooldown segment, but as I mentioned, the trying to debut a new team, we have the Grizzled Young Veterans challenge the Viking Raiders to a match next week because the injury to Ibar, I think it was, should be cleared by then. He should be free to wrestle once again. And it also gives us this big build that like this new team has come up. They've been portrayed at a high level, and now they're going to have their first tag match, not including the 10-man tag from last week. Next up we have the 10-woman battle royale, in a bout which has great heat and good wrestling. I'm going to pretty much explain how I saw this match going forward. So it starts with the 10 women in the ring, and the first person, which everybody goes after, is Baszler. Everybody goes after Baszler, and in fact, actuality, Shayna Baszler is going to be the first eliminated. Baszler is then going to stay at ringside and every so often just jump up onto the apron and eliminate people from the ring herself. She does that to Ruby Riott, Billie Kay, Zelina Vega, and Asuka. And before Asuka starts brawling with her to the back. We are then left with Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, and Natalya. Next to be eliminated is Peyton Royce, who is taken out by a clothesline from Natalya, who is too busy focusing on celebrating eliminating Peyton, staring down Peyton, when Nia Jax comes up from behind and tosses her over the top rope. Then both Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan try to work together to hurl Nia Jax over the top rope, before Nia Jax back body drops them both onto the apron. Liv gets punched off, eliminating her, before Nia Jax goes to do a running splash onto Bianca, but gets low bridged to be eliminated, and Bianca Belair is our number one contender. After the match, Banks and Bayley come out and they just jump Bianca Belair. They beat her down and they keep pummeling her and leaving her in the middle of the ring, laid out to try to assert their dominance, even though Bianca Belair has just beaten 9 of the Raw Women's division. We then get a vignette from the Mysterio household of Rey Mysterio coaching Dominic Mysterio. Because next week, Dominic Mysterio will be returning to Monday Night Raw. Asuka is being interviewed backstage by Charlie Caruso, probably. I forgot to add her into the segment. When she's interrupted by Baszler, who calls her out and says, You stopped me from winning. So why? You all ganged up on me, so why would I not take each one of you individually and try to rip you apart. And guess what? You're next. She specifically uses those words, "you're next." Yes, that is supposed to be a reference. It's 100 rating though, so it's a pretty good segment. Next up, we have a tag team match. The Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, take on Akira Tozawa and R-Truth. And Bobby Lashley pins R-Truth with a chokeslam. And he wins the 24/7 championship. It's on Bobby Lashley's shoulder. Which is an interesting person to hold the title, I think. And after the match, MVP comes out to join them. He claims that Lashley will never be pinned. His amateur background and MMA credentials mean that he is too dangerous to even attempt to take it from him. So we're going to try things out. We're going to make this 24/7 championship a TV title. On every single show, Lashley will issue an open challenge to anybody on the roster to come out and fight him. You get one opportunity a week on Raw. Lashley will issue his challenge. You can answer that. Every single show. And if you want to go for it the rest of the time, well, that's when me and Shelton come in to defend Lashley. Yes, 95. These three are actually gold in these segments together. We then get the Raw Tag Team Championship match as Andrade and Angel Garza take on the Street Profits of Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. And Andrade and Angel Garza win when Angel Garza pins Angelo Dawkins with an El Muertito, meaning we have new Raw Tag Team Champions, and they are Andrade and Angel Garza. It's 75 rating for the match, matching on for a bit too long, over 15 minutes, but a big title match like this, you'd expect it to go over 15 minutes, which I just don't get. We then go backstage where Randy Orton is with Ric Flair, and they bump into Apollo Crews, and they just start getting into a scuffle. They start going back and forth before Randy goes, "Hey kid, you think you're better than me? You think you can stand up to me? Meet me in the ring right now." We then get a quick highlight that Brock Lesnar will be returning to Monday Night Raw in 2 weeks with Heyman before our main event match gets a 70 as Randy Orton defeats Apollo Crews in 16:45 with a punt kick. Just a punt. He's just returning as his regular finisher now. Jason Jordan again didn't do too well. It's a 70 overall. And you can see there's one more segment left to have. And that is that Drew McIntyre pops out of nowhere after being told he wasn't here all night. And he gets a claymore on Randy Orton and stands tall. Despite barely being on the show, it's Drew who stands tall at the end of the night. Overall, I'd say it was a decent show, getting 83 ratings, same as last week. So I've been Ben Chapman. If you've stuck around for this long, hit the like button. If you're new around here, make sure to subscribe. Leave your thoughts about this show in the comments. And I'll see you guys on Saturday for SmackDown.